So in the previous session, we have seen a few important concepts from Python programming, especially control statements we have discussed. So in the control statements, we have three types of statements, right? What are those statements? First category is conditional statements. The second category is looping statements. And the third one is jumping statements. So these are the three categories of statements we have in the control statements. So in the previous session, we have seen how to work with the conditional statements. So what are the conditional statements we have? We have if condition, if else condition, if condition. So these are the three conditional statements which we have in Python. Now today we are going to see how we can work with the looping statements and jumping statements. So let us try to understand what is a loop. Okay. So loop is nothing but, so if you have a certain number of statements, sometimes we have to execute the same statements multiple times. Okay, for example, I want to print 1 to 10 numbers. So how many print statements I have to write? So 10 print statements I have to write, like print 1, print 2, print 3, and so on. Let's say print 1. And then we have to say print 2 and so on. So we have to write 10 print statements like this. So instead of writing more number of statements, we can just write only one statement and repeat the same statement 10 times, and every time increase this value in every round of iteration or every round of execution, increase this value like 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So that means this is possible using loop statement. So what is loop? Loop is basically a block of statements which we can execute multiple times repetitively till certain condition become false. So here we need to specify something called condition. Okay, based on the condition, the loop will execute. Now, before discussing about looping statements, we need to understand something called range function, which is very, very important. And we use this range function along with the looping statements. So let us see a few examples of the range function. So range function in Python. So what is a range function will do? So in Python, we have something called a range function. So when I use a range, and when I pass something called, let's say, some value here, so this will print 0 to 10. So from 0 to 10, what are the values we have? It will print. So 0 to 10. And it will always start from 0. And suppose when I say range of 1, 2, two parameters I passed, let's say 1, 10. So 2 parameters I have passed. So when I pass 2 parameters, what does it mean? This is a starting point, this is an ending point. So between 1 to 10, what are all numbers are available? All the numbers will be printed. So that means from 0 to 0, 1, and till 9. The last number which will not print because which will start from, start from 1 because starting point is 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 till 9 it will print. So if I pass n here, the last value will be n minus 1. But when you pass only one single parameter, which will print all the values till this particular number. So range function with a single parameter, range function with the 2 parameters. This is a starting point and this is an ending point. When you pass only a single parameter, that will be considered as an ending point and it will start from 0. Suppose the range function, in the range function itself, I passed 3 values, let's say 1, 10, 2. Then what happens? So 1 is representing the starting point, 10 is the ending point, and every time it will increment by 2. Every time it incremented by 2. So 1 is a starting point, and 10 is a ending point, and 2 representing the increment. How much value you need to increment in every round? So which will print 1, then 3, 5, 7, 9. That's it. So every time it will increment by 2. So this is basically representing the incrementation. So range function will take one single parameter or 2 parameters or 3 parameters. So if I pass 1 parameter, it will start from 0 and print all the values till that number. When you pass starting point and ending point, it will start from 1 and then it will end 9 because 10 is the last value. So it will just say n minus 1. That means 10 minus 1, 9. Till 9 it will print. Suppose when I pass 3 parameters, the first one is a starting point, second value is the ending point, and 2 2 is the incrementation point. So 10 is ending point means again it will print till 9 only. So it will not print 10 exactly, 9 only. N means n minus 1 till n minus 1 it will print. So this is how we can use a range function. Now we'll see practically how we can use with the different examples. Because before discussing the loop statement, we need to understand this. We will use all the looping statements along with the range function. So let's go to PyCharm and I'll create new directory today. Say day 3. So inside this, I'm creating new Python file. I'll name it as a range function.py. Okay, now here, what is the usage of range function? Which will print the values between the range. It will print the values between the range. For example, if I say range of 10. This is the first example, right? Range of 10. When I try to print range of 10, what is an output you will get? Let's see. When I run this as a range of 10, which will just print it as it is, 0, 10. What we have printed here, the same thing is printed because print function we used. But I want to get the values, not exactly the same function. So we have to use one more function called list function along with the range. Okay, remember this. So list is another function which will get the values within this particular range. Now when I try to run this, then you will get all 0 to 9 values. This is actual list. So range function it alone cannot be useful because it just print as it is here. But if you want to get the values within the range, we need to again use one more function called list function. Okay, so this will give you 0 to 9. So starting value is always considered as a 0, but ending value is always n. That means if I pass 10, here you will get 8. You will get a 9. So when you pass 9 here, you will get 8. That means if I pass n here, you will get the last value is n minus 1. Right. So now suppose I pass 2 parameters. Take the same example. And here I will pass 2 parameters. Let's say 5, 10. So I want to print the numbers between 5 to 10. I want to print the numbers between 5 to 10. Now range of 5, 10 is a one function, and that we need to include in the list, and then print function. 3 functions are there here actually. Range is one function, and which will generate the numbers, and those numbers we will print as a list. For that we use one more function called a list. And if you want to print that list, we use a print function. Okay. Now what is an output of this statement? Can you expect what is an output of the statement which will print from the 5? 5 is the starting point, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll get 10 or not? So we won't get the 10 because if I say n here, we will get the last value is n minus 1. So till 9 we will get. When I execute this, this is an output. Right? So this is how we can pass 2 arguments. Suppose I'll pass 3 arguments. So let's copy this. So here I'll say 1 and 10, 2. 1, 10, 2. So what this will print? So I want to print only odd numbers. Print only odd numbers between 1 to 10. Print only odd numbers between 1 to 10. Then how we can print? So we can use a range function. In the range we can pass starting odd number is 1. And between how many numbers I want to print? 1 to 10. So 10 is the last number. And between 1 to 10, I want to get only odd numbers. So the third parameter is incrementation. So every time it will increment by 2. So 1 plus 2. So first it will print 1 because starting point. After that 1 plus 2, 3. So 3 will print. Then again 3 plus 2, 5 will print. 5 plus 2, 7 will print. 7 plus 2, 9 will print. 9 plus 2, it becomes 11. So the range is exceeded. So last value is a 9. So it is printed only odd numbers. So when you run this code, you will get only odd numbers. And similarly, if you want to print only even numbers, let's say I want to print only even numbers between 1 to 10. Simply how we can write this statement? Only even numbers. So how we can print? We can start from 0 itself. Okay, so 0 it will print, or if you want to start with the 2 also, no problem. Start with the 2 because starting even number is a 2. Then maximum range is 10. Between 2 to 10, every time increase by 2. So first value is 2, and then 2 plus 2 4, and 4 plus 2 6, 6 plus 2 8, 8 plus 2 8 plus 2 10. So 10 will print or not? So 10 will not be printed because that is exceeded the size. So when you run this code, this will print only even numbers between 1 to 10. Only even numbers between 1 to 10. So this is how we can just use a range function. And sometimes we can also pass the negative values here. So let me show you how to pass the negative values. So for example, I'll try to write like this. I'll say print. Inside the print, again, list. Inside the list, I'm writing a range function. So in this range function, I'm passing 10 first, 1, and then minus 1. So what is an output of this statement? Let's get what, let us assume what is the output of this statement. I say 10 comma 1 comma minus 1. 10 comma 1 comma minus 1. So what is the starting point here? Starting point is a 10. Starting point is a 10. And what is an ending point? Ending point is a 1. 1 means what? It will not print 1. It will print the last number, right? So 1 is a maximum number. 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1, what? 0. So last value is 0. And between 10 to 0, I say minus 1. Minus 1 means what? It will, every time it will decrease a value. So 10 first it will print 10 minus 1 9, 9 minus 1 8, 8 minus 1 7, 8 7 minus 1 6, 6 minus 1 5, 5 minus 1 4, 4 minus 1 3, 3 minus 1 2, 2 minus 1 1, 1 minus 1 0. So what we have printed here? We have printed 1 to 10 numbers, or between 1 to 10 numbers in the descending order. Okay, now let's execute this code. So this is not printed 0 because exceeded 0, right? So 1 minus 1 0 only. So we have started from 1 here. So we have started from 1. So this is exceeded the limit. That's the reason it is giving only 2. So if you want to print numbers between 1 to 10 in descending order, we can specify the maximum value, minimum value, and every time do minus 1. Okay. Suppose when I write like this, for example, print, and inside this list, inside this range function, inside this I pass minus 10 comma minus 5. So minus 10 comma minus 5. So what is an output of the statement? What is the starting point? The starting point is minus 10. Minus 10 is a starting point. What is the ending point? Minus 5. But you will not get minus 5. And before that value, what is the value before less than minus 5? Minus 6, right? Minus 6. Are you guys getting this value? So these are the values. Let's say 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are positive numbers. And here, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, right? So minus 5. So these are the negative numbers. So what I'm saying is minus 10 to minus 5. Minus 10 means what? Here it is there. So I say minus 6, and then here minus 7, then minus 8, minus 9, then minus 10. So let us assume these are the current numbers, right? Between after 0, whatever numbers are there are positive numbers. Before 0, all are the negative numbers. Now I want to print minus 10 to minus 5. So where is minus 10? So here is a minus 10. There's a starting value. Okay, so minus 5. And where is the minus 10 here? Where is the minus 10? So here, sorry, this is minus 10. This is minus 10, and this is a minus 5. Okay, so where is the minus 10? So here is a minus 10. Where is the minus 5? Here is a minus 5. So between minus 10 to minus 5, all the values we will get. But what is the last value? Minus 5. So minus 5 we will not get because the last point, n minus 1. So till minus 6 only we will get. So what is an output of the statement? This is the output of the statement. Now let us execute. Now we'll get this list. So like this, we can also use negative statements. So for example, you have to tell this. So here I'm writing print list of range function. Inside this, I'm saying -10, comma -5, comma 2. So third parameter also I passed. 2 also I passed. So what is an output of this statement? So -10 to -5. So that means -10 to -5. So these are the values. Even -5 will not be considered. So these are the values. And every time I'm saying incrementation 2 means what? 10 plus 2, again you will get the 8. 8 plus 2, you will get the 6, right? So only these are the values you will get except 9 and 7 because we are incrementing by 2 here, right? So let's execute now. So you will get -10, -8 and -6. So this is how we can just work with the range function. So we can use range function along with the list function. So if I don't use list function, range function alone cannot return any values. Okay. So with this understanding, let us try to go with the looping statements. How we can use this range function in the especially for loop. Okay. So we have two kinds of looping statements. One is, let me write it here. Looping statements. We have two kinds of looping statements. One is while loop and second one is a for loop. So range function most of the times we use in the for loop. Okay, so let me show you how to work with the while loop and for loop. We'll see some examples. So let's close this and then let's go with the while loop. I'll create new file. I'll name it as a looping, or we can simply say while loop demo. While loop demo.py. Now, what is a loop? I said before. So what is a loop? Loop is a block of statements which we can execute multiple times. The same statements we can execute multiple times repetitively. That is basically called as a loop. But if you want to execute those statements multiple times, we have to include them in a block. And which block we have to include? It can be while or it can be for. Now let us see how to work with the while loop. So here, let me just clear. Fine. So here, my requirement is, suppose I'm just talking about while loop. So my requirement is, I want to print 1 to 10 numbers. 1 to 10 numbers. So we have seen how to use a range operator, right? So in the range operator, we can simply say 1, 11, that will print 1 to 10 numbers, but not like that. I want to print individual numbers, not as a big list. So 1 to 10 numbers I want to print. So if I don't want to use a looping statement, right? So we have to write it 10 statements, 10 print statements you have to write, like print 1, print 2, print 3, and so on. So instead of that, we will write a looping statement. So whenever you write a looping statement, so 3 important things you have to remember. The first thing is where you have to start, starting point, or we can say initialization. It's the first thing, where you have to start. There's an initialization is required. And the second thing is incrementation. How much value you need to increment in every iteration. Incrementation is there. And the third one is condition. Because when we have to stop loop, when you have to stop repeating the statements, so that will be decided by the condition. So initialization, and second one is a condition, and then incrementation. If you go with any looping statements, these 3 things mandatorily specified. We have to say where we have to start, and when we have to stop, and how much value we will increment every time. These are the 3 important things we have to specify in the looping statement. Now, if I go here, 1 to 10, I want to print 1 to 10 numbers. So what is the first point? Where is the starting point? 1 is a starting point. So I'll take one variable called I and say 1. So this is the initialization. This is called initialization. Means what? Starting point we are saying. And we have to start writing the loop statement. While, this is a syntax. While I less than or equal to, how many values I want to print? Till 1. So I less than or equal to 10, colon. Here I will print I value. I will print I value. As soon as you printed I value, then immediately I'll increment the I value by 1. I'll increment I value by 1. Now, if I just look at this, this is a initialization, and this is a condition, this is a incrementation. All three are covered. So initialization says where we have to start, and incrementation says how much value we have to increment every time, and condition says where we have to stop repeating the statements. So let us look at this. Initially, I value is 1. So then it will come here. 1 less than or equal to 10. Condition is true or false? Initially, I value is 1 here, right? So 1 less than or equal to 10. Condition is true. If this condition is true, then what happens? These two statements will be executed. These two statements will come under this particular block because we have seen indentation here. Indentation is required. So these two statements comes under while block. So if this condition is true, then it will first print I value. What is the I value here? 1. As soon as it's printed, then it will increase the I value by 1. So current I value is 1. 1 plus 1, 2. 2 will be assigned to the I. Now what is the current value of I? The current value of I is 2. It becomes a 2 now. So as soon as I value becomes a 2, then again it will go up. Again check the condition, one more round. So one round of execution is done. By the time we printed 1, then I value incremented by 2, then it will go up, and now I value is a 2 now. 2 less than or equal to 10. So I value is 2. So 2 less than or equal to 10. Condition is true. Again true. If it is a true, then it will print statement will execute. So what is the current value of I here? This time 2. Previously it is printed 1. This time it is printed 2. Now again it will increment by 1. So previously I value 2. 2 plus 1, 3. Now it becomes a 3 here. Now currently I value is 3. So after adding this one, again the new value will be reassigned to the same variable. That's the reason I contains every time the latest value. So now the latest value or current value of I is 3. Now again it will go up. Now 3 less than 10. Condition is true again. So if the condition is true, then again it will print I value. What is the current value of I? 3 is a current value. Now again it will increment I by 1. So current value of I is 3. 3 plus 1, 4. Now I becomes a 4. Again it will go up. Now 4 less than or equal to 10. Now I value is a 4 now. So 4 less than or equal to 10. Condition is true. Then again it will come here. Here it will print 4, which is current value of I. Then again incrementation will happen. I equal to I plus 1. So now I value becomes a 5. Now again it will go up. 5 less than or equal to 10. Again condition is true. Now again it will print 5. Then it will incremented by 1. It becomes 6. Now 6 less than or equal to 10. True again. So here it will print 6. Then it get incremented by 1. That becomes 7. So like this it will go on like this. 7, then 8, and it will become 9. So as soon as I value becomes 9, again the condition becomes true. 9 less than or equal to 10. Condition is again true. Even I becomes 9. Then again it will print a 9 here. And now again it is incremented by 1. So now I value becomes a 10. Then again it will go up. 10 less than or equal to 10. Condition is true or false? Please respond. I less than or equal to 10. So 10 less than or equal to 10. Condition true or false? I value, current value of I is true, right? So current value of I is 10. So 10 less than or equal to 10. Still condition is true, even though I becomes a 10. Now it will print a 10 also. And now I value becomes 11 here. Now it will go up 11 less than or equal to 10. Condition true or false? Now the condition become false. Because I value 11, 11 not less than or equal to 10. Condition become false. So as soon as the condition become false, then it will stop repeating the statements. It will come out from this looping statements. It will come out from the while block. So that's the reason we have to put some condition. If I don't put the condition, then what happens? It will keep on executing the same statement. It will go to infinite. Okay. So initialization is required where we have to stop and how much value we have to increment every time. And then where we have to stop. The condition is saying where exactly we have to stop. So these three things we have to keep inside the block. This is a syntax of the while loop. If this condition is true, then only these statements will execute. You can write any number of statements inside the while block. But if I write something like this, here I'm writing one more print statement. Observe this carefully. This is most important. Program I'm writing simple string message. I can say done. Okay, simple I say done. Now this print statement comes under while block or not? I have created print statement here. If I write print statement from the beginning, like parallel to while block, this will also part of the while loop. Sorry, if I create this statement parallelly in the while block, so which is not part of the while block, it is a separate statement. After completion of the whole while block, once it is exited, then finally the print statement will execute. Let me execute now. So when I run as this, you can see 1 to 10 statement, when 2 10 numbers are printed, finally done message is there. Suppose if you put this statement inside the block, just put one tab space, give indentation, then see the output. See this, for every statement done is executed. Why? Because this time the print statement is a part of the loop. This is a part of the loop. So every time when the loop is repeating, every time the statement will print it 10 times, you can see that message. That is the difference, guys. Indentation will play very, very important role in the Python. So by mistake, if you put like this, instead of putting like this, right? So you will end with the error. So now you can see done. I want to print this message after completion of entire loop, after printing of 1 to 10 numbers. Okay, so got the difference, guys? If you write the statement by using just a tab space, after indentation, that will be the part of the loop. If I don't give any tab or indentation, that is a part, that's not a part of the while block. That's a out of the while block. Remember this, most important. This is one example. Now, I want to print 1 to 10 numbers in descending order. Okay, I want to print 1 to 10 numbers in descending order. Let me comment this. Then let me another requirement. Print 1 to 10 numbers in descending order. So I want to print 1 to 10 numbers in descending order, means 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and so on till 1. So 10 to 1 numbers, right? So 10 to 1 means this is a 1. So 10, 9, 8, 7, so on, and still 1. Now here, if I just look at, again, we have to identify the starting point, the ending point, and then how much value we have to increment. 3 things we have to know. So it can be increment, or sometimes it can be decrement also. Okay. So suppose I want to print to 10 to 1. So what is the starting value here? What's the starting value here? 10 is a starting value. So I just initialize I equal to 10. So I is a simple variable name. You can use anything, no problem. So I say I equal to 10. So because starting value is 10. Now I'm writing one while loop here. While, what is the condition? So what could be the condition? So all these values, so from 10 to 1, so all these values are greater than 1 or not? Greater than 1 only, right? So 10, 9, 8, 7 till these values, all these are greater than 1 only. So I say one condition, I greater than or equal to 1. Okay, and then print I value. Instead of incrementing this, I'll decrement this value. I say I equal to I minus 1. I equal to I minus 1. Then what happens? First, initially 10. So 10 greater than or equal to 1. Condition is true or not? Condition is true. 10 is greater than or equal to 1. Condition is true. Then print statement will execute. Here it will print 10. Then I equal to I minus 1. So currently I value is a 10. 10 minus 1, 9. Now currently I value becomes 9 here. As soon as I value becomes 9, again it will go up and check the condition. 9 greater than or equal to 1 are true or not? It is true. So again it will come here. So now I value is 1. Current I value is 9. So it will print 9. And then 9 minus 1, it becomes 8 now. Now again it will go up. 8 greater than or equal to 1. Condition is again true. So come inside and here it will print 8. Then it will also decrease by 1. So it becomes a 7. Again 7 greater than or equal to 1. Condition is true. So it will print 7 here. And then decremented I value by 1. So it becomes a 6 now. Again go up. 6 greater than or equal to 1. Condition is true. Now it will come here. It will print 6. Then I equal to I minus 1 becomes 5. Now again, 5 greater than or equal to 1, condition is true. Now it will print I, that is 5. Now again it is decremented by 1. So now it becomes 4. Similarly, it becomes condition. So 4 greater than or equal to 1, condition is again true. Now here it will print 4. Now minus 1, that means becomes 3. Now again one more round. I greater than or equal to 3. Again condition is true. Sorry, I greater than or equal to 1 means 3 greater than or equal to 1. Condition is again true. So it will print 3 here. Now decremented by 1, it becomes a 2. Now again go up. Now 2 greater than or equal to 1. Again condition is true. So it will print a 2 here. And then minus 1. So it becomes 1. Again it will go up. 1 greater than or equal to 1. Condition is true or false? I greater than or equal to 1. Again condition is true. Right? So here it will print 1 and here it will become 0. Because 1 minus 1 becomes 0. So then it will go up. Now it will check the condition. 0 greater than or equal to 1. 0 greater than or equal to 1. Condition true or false? Condition become false. As soon as it become false, then it will stop repeating the statements. And then after coming out of this while block, I simply write done. So finally, we will get these values 10 to 1 in descending order. So let's execute the code. Yeah, now we can see 10 to 1 finally done. So this is how we just use while loop to repeat the statements multiple times. Only 3 things you have to remember: starting point, ending point, and how we need to put the condition. If you know these 3 things, you can easily use while loop. And first it will check the condition, then only these statements will be executed. If the condition is false, the statements will not be executed. Okay, but what is the difference between conditional statement and looping statement? If condition and while loop. In if condition, if the condition is true, the statements will be executed only once. It will not repeat statements again and again. But in the looping statements, the statements will be repeated multiple times till this condition becomes false. Okay, so that's the difference between conditional statements and a looping statement. In the conditional statement, just condition will be verified and the statements will be executed only once. But in the looping statements, condition will be verified multiple times and the statements also will be executed multiple times repetitively till the condition becomes false. That is the basic difference between conditional statement and a looping statement. So this is simply usage of while loop. Here we don't have any curly braces, nothing, just colon is required. And under this, whatever statements we have kept here comes under this while block. And indentation is very, very important. Okay. Now let us see one more loop called for loop. How to use for loop. This is the most important one. Most of the times we prefer to use for loop because in the for loop, so we can reduce a lot of code actually. So we no need to write initialization, condition, incrementation, not required at all. Because we always use range function along with the for loop. Because in the range function itself, we can specify the starting point, ending point, incrementation. But if I just look at this combination, in the range function itself, we can specify the starting point, ending point, and every time how much value we need to increment. Right? Everything is part of the range function. So whenever you use for loop, always use for loop along with the range function. So that we no need to specify any initialization, we no need to specify condition, we no need to specify incrementation or decrementation, separate statement as a separate statements. But in the while loop, we have to write them as a separate statements. But when I use for loop, we will use for loop along with the range function. So that range function itself will take care of starting point, ending point, and incrementation. So we no need to write a separate statement for them. So that is the biggest advantage of for loop. Okay, now I'll show you a few examples how to use for loop. Let's create another Python file. For loop demo dot. So listen this carefully, most important looping statement. So again, I just want to print 1 to 10 numbers using for loop. I want to print 1 to 10 numbers using for loop. So in the while loop, we have seen how to print 1 to 10 numbers, but how we can do that using for loop? It's very, very simple. And here we use some additional operator called in operator. There is a keyword called in. So I'll tell you how to use in keyword. First, let us start write the loop statement. For is a keyword. For I'm taking a variable called I. In is a keyword. Range 10. And then print I. That's it. Simple, 2 statements over. So when you execute this will just print 1 to 9, 0 to 9. So I want to print 1 to 10 numbers. I want to print 1 to 10 numbers, but we have given only one value here. So when I say range of 10, what is the return? What is the values it will return? From 0 is a starting point, 0 to 9 it will return. So that's the reason we got 0 to 9. So it is printed 0 to 9. But I want to exactly get 1 to 10. I want to get exactly 1 to 10. Then how we can write the loop statement? I want to get only 1 to 10. Then we have to specify the starting point. 1 comma ending point. Even 10 also I want to print. If you want to print 10 also, then what you have to do? We have to say 11 here. Because always it will take -1. In the range function, always the last value will take -1. So I shown you in the last example. Same thing is applicable here. So I want to start from 1. So starting from 0, starting from 1. And when I say 11 means 11 will not come, but 10 till 10 it will repeat. So now if I just comment this first one, and if I execute this one, this will print exactly 1 to 10 numbers. Okay, so this is how just slightly we have to modify this range function. Right, now I'll show you one more example. So print 1 to 10 numbers. These are the 2 examples. I'll show you one more example. Let's say I want to print only even numbers between 1 to 20. I want to print only even numbers between 1 to 20. So how to write the looping statement? Now you have to tell how to print only even numbers between 1 to 10, 1 to 20. For I in, I'll tell you what is the in operator will do here. I in range of 1 to 20 even numbers only I want to print between 1 to 20. Between 1 to 20. So what is the first range? What is the starting point? 1 is a starting point. What is the ending range? 21. Because I want to get 20 also. 20 is an even number. And how much value we need to increment every time? 1 plus 1, it becomes 2. 2 plus 1 again becomes 3. But I want to get only even numbers. Only even numbers means what? I need to start from either 0, right? Because 0 plus 2, incrementation is 2 here. So 0 plus 2, 2. So 0, 21, 2. And then I'll just print I value. So what is I in means? So basically range function will return a group of values, right? So the first value will be assigned to the I. Then it will print here. The second round of execution, second value from this range function will be assigned to the I. So for example, take this example here. So let's say 1, 2, 3, so on, right? So till 10. So what in operator will do? First 1 will be assigned to the I, that will print. In the second round of execution, 2 will be assigned to the I, then it will print. In the third round of execution, the next value will be stored in I and then will print it. So what in operator is doing, which will pick that values one after another, and each value will be stored in this variable, and then I'm printing this value of that variable. That's how in operator works. Okay, same thing here also. Starting from 0, ending point is 21. Every time I want to increment by 2. That means we will get only even numbers. Let's try to execute. See this? 0 also we captured. So 0 also we capture. 0, 2. Or else if I don't want to get 0, just starting from 2 itself. So then it will give you even numbers between 1 to 20. So 2, 4, 6, 8 and so on. And this will print only even numbers between 1 to 20. Similarly, if I want to print only odd numbers, how we can print? Okay, only odd numbers I want to print. how we can change it. So starting odd number is 1, right? Start with 1. You can just execute. And now we got 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 15, 17, 9. So these are all odd numbers between 1 to 20. So this is how we can use range function along with the for loop. Okay. And suppose I want to print numbers 10 to 1 in descending order. I want to print 10 to 1 in the descending order. So then how we can write the statement? So print 1 to 10 numbers in descending order. 1 to 10 numbers in descending order. So how to print 1 to 10 in the descending order? Just write a loop like this. For I in, we have to carefully use range function. Okay, that will give you exact values. So now tell me, what are the things we have to specify? So 1 to 10 numbers, I want to print in descending order. So 1 to 10 numbers, I want to print in the descending order. So what are the parameters? So 3 parameters we have to pass, right? So what is the starting point, ending point, and how much value we need to decrease every time? So I want to print 1 to 10 descending order means what? This is how 10, 9, 8, till 1. This is the order I want to print. So now in the range function, what are the values we need to specify? So we have to specify range function. How to specify? The first value is 10. Starting point is 10. Next one, incrementation or decrementation. So I have to decrement by 1. So -1. So that's the third parameter. And what is the ending point here? 1 is an ending point, but 1 you will not get. So we have to specify 0. And then how much value we need to decrement? -1 we have to decrement. This is a range function. Now we can just print I value. Now execute. So you will see exactly 10 to 1. So if we say 1 here, then 1 will not print actually. So it will print just till 2 because the last value will not print. Before that, what is the value we have? That will be printed. So we have to say 0 here. And then it will print 10 to 1. Right, so this is how we can just print 1 to 10 numbers in descending order. So everything is there in the range function only. We have to write this range function properly. Accordingly, we can get the proper series. Clear, everyone? So how to work with the while loop, for loop, and for loop along with the range function. Most important. Okay, so similarly, whatever value you want to increment, you can specify any number of value, no problem. If you want to increase by 4 every time, you can say 4 here. Or if you want to increment every time by 5, you can say 5 here. So for example, I want to print 1 to 100 numbers. Like every time I want to increment 5, like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, I want to print till 100. So how we can write the statement now? Print a series like 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on till 100. Now tell me how to write the for loop. For I in range, and what's the range we have to specify? Print of I. So what is the range now? Just tell me. So I want to print 5, 10, 15, 20. Every time I will increment by 5. So till 100, I want to print all the values. Now what are the parameters we have to pass in the range function? So in the range function, so starting with the 5, right? Starting value is a 5. So we have to say 5 is a starting value. And the second parameters, where we have to end. As soon as you reach 100, we have to end. But when you say 100, 100 will not consider. Till 99 only it will consider. So what you have to say? 101 we have to specify. Comma. How much value we need to increment every time? 5 we have to increment. So 5 is the incrementation value. Okay. Now let us execute this. So now observe this, it is printed 5 to 100, only these numbers 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 like this. So the first parameter is a starting point. This is the ending point. This is the incrementation. Just remember that, just 3 parameters. Clear, everyone? So this is how we need to use for loop along with the range function. So range function must be used along with the for loop. Most important thing. Okay. So in the coming sessions, we will see more number of examples because we use these looping statements very frequently. Now, let's move on to the next one called jumping statements. How to use jumping statements. So what are the looping statements we have discussed? Two looping statements, while and for loop. These are the only two looping statements which we have in the Python. Now, what are the jumping statements which we have in Python? Only two statements. One is a break, the other one is continue. These are the two jumping statements which we have in Python, break and continue. Now let us see how to use break and continue. So most of the times we use this break and continue along with the conditional statements or looping statements. Okay. So now let me just show you how to use break and continue statements. And close this and create another Python file. I'll name it as jumping statements.py. Okay, now listen this carefully, very important. So where we have to use jumping statements. So what are the jumping statements we have? One is a break, the other one is a continue. These are the two called as a jumping statements. So I'll tell you one small requirement here. Understand this. I'm writing one for loop for I in, and I say range, and in the range I say 1, 10. 1, 10. And normally when I say print of I, so what is an output you will get from this? It will print 1 to 9. So basically this loop will print 1 to 9. 10 will not consider, okay? 1 to 9 numbers it will print. So this will by default print 1 to 9. But here my requirement is, I don't want to change this condition or range function. I don't want to change. Still I want to have 1, 10 only. But as soon as this I value becomes 5, then immediately I want to come out from this block. And then here I will write one print statement, program exited. See this, when I execute this loop, so normally when I execute this, what is happening? So it is printing 1 to all numbers, 1 to 9 numbers, and finally it is getting this statement. But my requirement is, I don't want to change this condition. So 1, 10 should be there. But as soon as this I value become 5, I want to immediately exit from this block. I want to immediately exit from that block, and then finally I want this print this message. So that means between or before completing the series or before completing all the rounds, immediately I want to exit from that block. That's my requirement. Let's say I have some certain condition, and based on that condition, I want to immediately exit from this block. That means immediately I want to terminate this loop. I want to terminate this block. So for that, we use a break statement. But how we can put that? We need to put one condition. But how to put the condition? By using if condition. If I equal to 5, then say break. Okay, if I equal to 5, then break. And if I equal to not 5, then what happens? It will print that value. But as soon as I value become 5, then immediately the break command will execute. This will come out from this block, and finally it will print this message. Now observe this carefully. But here we have not changed. Still 1 to 10 is the range. But here, as soon as this I value become 5, what I'm saying? Break. Break means which will completely come out from this block. Let me execute. Yes, now you can see we got only 1 to 4, and then program is exited. So why we got only 1 to 4? Because as soon as I value become 5, immediately break is executed. So what break is doing? This is coming out of this block completely. Completely this block is terminated, and finally the statement is executed. So that's the reason 5 is not printed. So that's how we can use a break statement. And if you want to break the loop based on certain condition in the middle of execution, then we can go and use break command. Basically, why we are calling this as jumping statement? Because as soon as the condition is true, the break command is jumping out from this block without executing the next statement. And this is not a part of the block. The program exited. This print is not a part of this block. That's the reason finally this statement is executed. This is a break command, usage of break command. Suppose I'll use the same loop. Instead of a break command, I will use continue. Then what will happen? I will comment this. So instead of break command, I'm using continue here. So then what is an output you will expect here? I want to print 1 to 10 numbers only. But as soon as I say I equal to 5, I'm simply saying continue. Then what would be the output will print here? So let us try to execute. So we can just look at this. It is printed all the numbers from 1 to 10. Between 1 to 10, 9 is printed. But only except one number, which is 5 is not printed. So what happens to 5? 5 is why it is not printed, because as I said, this condition, if I equal to 5, what I'm saying, continue. Continue means it will go to the next level, next number. That means this statement will not execute for that. So as soon as I say I equal to 5, it will go to the condition one more time. So that means this print statement will skip for this particular statement. So whenever I value becomes a 5, what I'm saying, continue. What continue will do, it will directly go to the condition and continue the execution. But when I say continue, this will not execute print I statement, because this condition is matched. What continue will do, as soon as I value become 5, I'm not printing the 5 here. I'm continue to the next numbers. I'm not printing the 5 here. That's the reason it is not printed 5 here, because as soon as I value become 5, continue with the next numbers. But I'm not printing 5 here. So that's the reason it is not printed 5. So if you want to skip some values between 1 to 10, you can simply use this statement. Suppose I want to skip multiple values. Let's say, or not only 5, I want to skip 3, 7, or some random values. So how we can specify? 3 or operator, or I equal to 5. 5 also I want to skip. Or I equal to 7 also I want to skip. So you can put multiple conditions also by using or operator. So then 3 will be skipped, 5 will be skipped, 7 also will be skipped, and rest of the numbers will be printed. Now you can just look at this. Only we got 1, 2, 3 is skipped. 4 printed, 5 is skipped, and 6 printed, 7 is skipped. Again 9, 8, and 9 we got. So this is how we can also specify multiple values. Okay, so remember this. So this is also jumping statement, because as soon as the condition is matched, it is jumping to the next number or jumping to the next level. That's the reason we use continue statement. Okay, so if I use a range in 372, then what will happen? Okay, so somebody asking this, let me just write it here. For I in range, okay, so I in the range, I say 3, 7, 2. Can anybody expect what is an output of this statement? What is an output of the statement? What is the value you will get? So 3 is a starting point. 7 is an ending point. We will not get 7. Till 6 you will get. So 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the only numbers we will expect. But again, we are incrementing 2. Every time we are incrementing 2. Right? So let me just execute. So how many values you got? Only 3 and 5. Because starting value is a 3. And the second value plus 2. So 3 plus 2, 5. And the next round 5 plus 2, 7. So 7 is exceeded the maximum range. So 7 will not print. Got my point? So this is how we can just use any values, but when you specify the values here, don't blindly specify the value. Just first understand what is the starting point, what is the ending point, how much value we need to increment. There should be logic involved here. And accordingly, you have to write the proper ranges. Okay. So this is how we need to write a for loop. Yes, if a statement only allows the Boolean condition. So Boolean conditions only, that's always right statement. But here also I put only the Boolean condition only, right? So let me just repeat this. So what I equal to 3 will return? True or false only, right? What I equal to 5 will return? True or false? I equal to 7 return? True or false? So if condition is always accept true or false only Boolean value will be accepted. Even here also, even in the for loop, even though if you write if condition here, always if condition accept Boolean values. And here also I equal to 5. It will return either true or false. Right? It return true or false. I value is a 5, 5 equal to 5, true. If I value 2, 2 equal to 5, false. So whenever use if conditions, individually or along with the for loop, always if condition expects some condition. It can be true or false. And basically these expressions also returns either true or false. They are Boolean values. Okay, so this is the right statement. Okay, always if condition accept only Boolean conditions. So Boolean conditions in the sense not only true or false directly, you can directly specify the expression also. So these are the expressions. Expressions always returns either true or false. That's how we need to understand this. So now let us see one more important topic. How to work with the numbers and the strings. Numbers and strings. So most of the times in the programming, we always work with the numbers and the strings. So there are so many methods, functions are available in Python. So we have to discuss them. So numbers and the strings. So you already know in Python, there are two number data types are there. What are those? In the Python, there are two kinds of numbers are there. What are those? One is int, the other one is float. One is int, the other one is float. And there is only one string type, that is str. That is str, right? Now, let us see, start with the numbers. What we can do on the numbers? What are the different functions are available to perform certain operations on the numbers? So let's create another example. A new file. I'll name it as numbers demo.py. So listen this carefully. So we already discussed this in previous session also, but this is also most important. I will add something more here. So when I create a variable number 1 equal 100. Now what is the type of this number 1? What is the type? What is the type of this number 1? Int type, right? But how we will print the type? How we will know whether number 1 is int type or not? We have a function, type function. If you specify that variable name, this will return the what is the exact type of number 1. So let us print it, type of number 1. So this will give you int. So when I execute this, this will give you int. Perfectly fine. Similarly, I'll create one more variable. I say number 2 equal to, I say some decimal number I'm giving. Now what is the type of this variable? So what is the type of the variable number 2? This is a float type, because which is having some decimal number which is giving the float type. So this is int type and this is a float type. So there are two kinds of numbers we have. So we can do certain operations on the numbers, or we have certain functions, other functions are available. We can use those functions on the numbers. So for example, so I have 3 numbers. Let us say I want to find maximum of 3 numbers. I want to find the maximum of 3 numbers. For that, we have a method called max. Okay, max is a function. Function is there. So for example, I'm saying max of, you can pass numbers, any numbers you can pass. I can say pass 10, 20, and 30. So what this max function will return, it will find which number is a maximum number, and that will be returned. So the returned value will be printed by using a print function again. Now observe this. So max of 10, 20, 30. So what max function will do here? This function will find out which number is a maximum number, and that will be returned and printed by this print function. So when I execute this, this will simply print 30. Maximum number. So max function will return the maximum of not only 3 numbers. You can pass any numbers. I can say 40, 50, and again 5. Even in the random order also you can pass. Even if you have duplicates also, no problem. So 80, 100, and 40. So you can pass any numbers here. So that will give you which one is the largest number. So this will always return the maximum number among multiple numbers. So max function will return some maximum value. Max function will return maximum value. So this is an example. Similarly, we have also minimum function. So what minimum function do? Which will return the minimum value. So what is the minimum value here? We'll see. Run as a number. So minimum is giving 100. We have to change this function minimum. Right? So minimum. So when I say minimum here, so it will find out a minimum value among these numbers, and then this will return the minimum value, which is 5. So minimum and the maximum. So these are the two functions. So most of the times we use this and remember this. And not only integers, we can also specify the decimals also. Okay, so we can say print. Let's say I want to say print max of. I'm saying decimal numbers 10.5, 20.5, 5.5. So 3 decimal numbers I said 10.5, 20.5, 5.5. So when I execute this, which will give you some error. Okay, just a moment. Comma is not there. So 10.5, 20.5, 5.5. So 3 numbers I have passed. Execute. So this will give you 20.5. So that is a largest number, or we can say maximum number 20.5. Similarly, we can also use minimum function. Simply say minimum and execute. So this will give you 5.5. That's a minimum. So min and max, these two functions we can use for numbers. It can be int or it can be float. It can be int or it can be float. Okay, so these are the number functions which are already available. Built-in functions, we can call them as a functions. Built-in functions which are already available in Python, so we can use when you're working with the numbers. So the next thing is strings, how to work with the strings, which is most important concept. There are so many functions are there for strings. There are n number of functions are there. It is very difficult to remember all those functions. And I will discuss a few important functions which are very frequently used in Python and even in automation. So just remember only those functions. Once you start practicing, then you will be able to remember them. Okay. So now we'll see how to work with the strings by using different type of functions. So let's go and create one more example. Create a Python file. Strings demo.py. So you have to listen this carefully. So in Python, how we can store strings into variable? In Python, how we can store strings into variable? So how to create a string variable? Create a string variable. Simply say yes equal to welcome. You can use double quotations or you can use single quotations. Anything is fine. Right? You can use double quotations or you can use single quotation. Anything is fine. But apart from that, there is also one more method is there. Yes equal to, you can use str function of, here you can specify the value. This is also correct notation. So you can use a single quotations or you can use double quotations. Anything is fine. Because Python allowed both single and double quotations. So these are the 4 different ways we can store a string value into a variable. We can specify that directly string in the double quotation, or we can specify string in the single quotation, or you can specify one function called str representing a string. Basically what it is doing, this value is considering as a string and storing that into a variable. So these are the different ways of creating a string variables. Ways of creating string variables. Okay, so you just follow one approach, that is fine. You don't need to remember everything. So, but whenever you see this kind of statement or syntax somewhere, you should not confuse what exactly it is. This is also string kind of representation. Just to declare this and store that value in yes. There is no difference between these two. All are exactly same. All are exactly same. Remember that. Okay. Suppose I want to create a variable with the empty string. I don't want to store any string, but that variable I want to consider that as a string variable. So how to store that? Suppose I say name. I don't know what is the value I want to store, but still that is a string value. So in that case, you can simply say str and have open bracket. So that means the name is a string variable, but it doesn't have any value. So it doesn't have any value. So that is a representation of string of double. You can also specify like this: name equal to double quotation. This is also perfectly fine. Or name equal to single quotation. This is also fine. So the name is be considered as a string variable, but I don't have any value inside this. Later on, I can add value into the name variable. So these are all different ways of creating the strings. So here, creating empty strings, creating empty string variables, creating empty string variables. Okay. Now, so let us see a few operations on strings. So first one, the most important topic is mutable and immutable. This is the most important concept in Python. Mutable, immutable. What is the meaning of mutable and immutable? That we need to understand. What is mutable and immutable? Simple meaning, mutable means cannot change. Sorry, can change. Mutable means can change the value of the variable. Can change the value of the variable. If you are able to change the value of the variable means what? That is mutable. So what is the meaning of immutable? We cannot change the value. Cannot change the value of variable. That feature is called immutable. Remember this. Mutable, immutable, we will use these terminologies multiple times in many places in Python in the going forward. But for now, just remember very high level. Mutable means what? We can change the value of the variable anytime. That is the meaning of mutable. Okay. So mutable means can change the value. So immutable means we cannot change the value of the variable. Now, string is a mutable or immutable. Strings are mutable or immutable. That is a question, entry question. String variable. String is mutable or immutable. So strings are immutable. Strings are immutable. What does that mean? So the actual meaning is if the value is changed after updation, then it is a mutable. I'll tell you one example, then you will be able to understand that. Let me take one variable called str1 equal to welcome. This is one string I created. Remember this. Whenever you create a variable, right? So Python will allocate some memory location to that variable. Okay, memory will allocate to that variable. And if you want to access the memory ID, we have a method called ID. We have a function called ID. When I say ID of str1, that will return the address of the memory. So where exactly this value is got stored. So for that, we use one function called ID. So we have to print that again. We have to use print function to print that ID. So what this will return? Let me just comment all these things. Okay, so now I say str equal to welcome. Str also, str1 is a string variable. So as soon as I say str equal to welcome, what will happen internally is Python will create a separate memory like this. The name of this memory is str1. And what's the value we have assigned? Welcome. So this memory, in this memory, the value is welcome is there. Now what I will do is I'm just printing the ID of this memory. So ID of str1. So when I execute this, this will give you some number. So this is a ID of this variable. Remember this ID of the variable. Now observe this. After that, what I will do is for the str1 variable, I will concatenate or I will add something like welcome to Python. I'm adding something. Again, I'm storing into the same variable. Observe this. str1 means what? This one, which contains a welcome. So welcome plus 2 Python. So this is becoming another string, right? str1 plus 2 Python is combinedly, it is another string. And where we are storing this another string again? In the same str we are storing. But what happens here is, which will create another memory location. So the str1 is referring to this, because previously this str referring to this one. And we got the ID also. But as soon as you created this str1, again you updated this value, then again it will create another memory location str1. And what's the value will be there here? str1 plus 2 Python. In str1, what is the value we have previously? Welcome. So here you will have a new value called welcome to Python. So now this new value will be referred by this str1. So when you create a new variable, the new value in this str1, what happens? The old value will be gone, because the same variable we have used here and also here. Right, same variable we have used. So what happens? The previous value will be override by the new value. Now, if I just print the value here of str1, ID of str1, what you are expecting here? So here also we are printing ID of str1, the memory location of str1. And here also I'm printing the memory location of str. Will it be the same or different? It Can you guys guess what is it is the same or different? So previously str1, one memory location is created and the value is added here. And I got the ID, this is the ID which is returned. Now in the second case, what I have done, I have taken the same str and added one more string, concatenated, and the new value also again stored into the str1. So as soon as you created a new variable, every time it will create a new memory location. So this value will be stored in this str1, and this str1 is pointing to this one. And now what happens? We have used the same variables here. So old one is gone. Only the new value will be there. But what's the ID you will get? You will get a different ID. You will not get the same ID. So when I execute this, so this is the ID of the first one. So this ID will not be same every time. Okay, randomly this will generate the memory location. So previously we got this one, but now we got this one. But what is the second one? The ID of the second one? This is the one. So this is something different ID. Okay, so this is a behavior. So what we need to understand here is, there is one important point which we need to understand. What is that? If the value is changed, if the value is got changed, that means after updation, then it is a mutable. So the value is changed or not here? Values got changed here. So the ID value is changed here. The value in the sense means the ID of the variable. So here is a different, here it is a different. That means values got changed after updation. So that means what? It is a immutable. Values got changed means it is a immutable. Immutable is nothing but value is got changed after updation. Sometimes what happens is this will not be changed. So when you're working with the collections, I'll tell you, especially for list, set, these things, will more understand what is immutable and immutable. So for now, just understand this. So if I use same variable again and again, the memory location will be changed. The different IDs will be created. So previously str1 is different. In here str1 is different. So we are able to change it. That's the reason it is a immutable. Okay, so that is a one important thing which we need to understand. Guys, are you clear on this? So strings are immutable. If the value is changed after updation, then it is immutable. So this is the point we need to understand here. Okay, so I already put this point. So I think this is a reverse, guys. Okay, sorry. This should come here. Mute means we cannot change the value. Immute means we can change the value. So here we are able to change it. So that's the reason string is immutable. Okay. So like this, we have few more functions we have on the string. So let me also discuss them. So the next one is we have two operators. Let us comment this. So now this is one example. While practicing, please look at this and practice carefully. So I'm just putting everything is comment. So this is example one. In example one, I told you how many ways we can create the string variables. How many ways we can create a string variables. That's example one. In the example two, I told you how the string memories will be changed. It's a mutable or immutable. That's an example two. Now example three. So how to use plus and star operators with the strings. Plus and star. So we already know what is plus will do. Plus is used for concatenation. But what star will do? Star is basically arithmetic operator which will perform the multiplication. So both are part of arithmetic operators only. When I use plus operator, it will perform the addition of two numbers. When I use star, which will perform the multiplication of two numbers. But when I use plus and star in the strings, along with the strings, then what is the output you will get? How we can use plus and star with the strings. So that is an example here. So let me just take one variable called str equal to, I say welcome. This is my string. Now observe this. I'm saying print str plus, and I'm giving one more string here called programming. So what is an output of this statement? Str is already having one string, and here it will perform the concatenation. So welcome programming. That's the output of this program. So basically it will do concatenation. It will perform the concatenation or joining of two strings. When I use plus operator between the two strings, basically it will join the two strings. Suppose when I use star, then what happens? Print str star, I say 2. I say 2 here. Then what is the star operator will do? So when I say star 2, the string will be printed 2 times. So when I execute this, so now you can see string is printed 2 times. I want to print string 10 times. You can say 10 here. Execute. So now string is printed 10 times. So when I use a star along with the string, then it will print multiple times. So when I say 2 here, I'll say 3 here, which will print 3 times. Will print 3 times. So star operator will be used to print the string value multiple times. Print the string value multiple times. So simple. You can just remember this. Plus and star operator with the strings. How to use plus and star operators along with the strings. Now the next one is a slicing. There is one more thing called slicing concept. So slicing is nothing but what we can extract. We can extract some portion of the string, and we can find a number of characters in the string, and we can get the string, or we can reverse the string. All the operations we can do on the strings by using slicing operators. So here, slicing will start. Example 4. So listen this carefully. So here in the slicing, we have something called, just a moment. Yeah. Okay. So here I'm just saying something called str equal to welcome. I have one string. Right. So the slicing operator is this one, guys. So this is called as slicing operator, brackets, slicing operator. So let's see how we can use this slicing operator. I say str. What is str? Str is a string variable. Str is a string variable. So str of 1, 3. So 1, 3. And I will print this value. What is an output? You will get it here. Slicing operator. So what slicing operator will be doing? Slicing. Slicing means it will cut the strings based on the values we provided. So the string value is welcome, and the str of 1, 3 I have given. 1, 3. So 1:3 means 1 is representing the starting point, 3 is representing the ending index, or 1, 3 both are representing the end indexes basically. So here the starting index always start from 0 and count ending index from 1. Ending index from 1. Remember this. Now when I say 1 here, which is a starting index. So 1. So double starting index is 0. Actually count will start from 0. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so every letter will be having some index number. So when I say 1, which character it is representing? E it is representing, because we start from 0, starting index, right? E is representing. Now what is 3 representing? 3 is a ending index. That means we have to count from 1. So 1, 2, 3. So here it is representing L. So between E and L, do we have any characters? No. So this will print only EL. EL it will print. Okay. Let me execute. So you got only EL. So only index will matter. So starting index, ending index. Suppose I say like this, print str is a string variable, str:6. Now I have not provided starting index, but I have provided only ending index. I have not provided starting index, I have provided only ending index. Then what is an output you will get? So if I don't pass the starting index, that will be considered as a 0 by default. Okay, so by default it will consider as a 0 if you are not providing the starting index. So 0 means what? W. And 6 is the ending index. So we have to count from 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till M. So from 0 to M. So what are the characters we have? W, A, L, C, O, M. This is the output. So here starting index is 0 by default. If I don't specify the starting index, that will be considered as from 0 only. So let's execute. This will give you welcome. Same thing which will return. Okay, very important. Now, one more statement I'm printing. Print str. This time I will provide you only starting index, but I don't provide the ending index. I provided only starting index. I am not provided ending index. So then what is an output you will get? Starting index is 2. We have to start from 0. So 0, 1, 2. So this will return L first. So from L, because we have not provided the ending index, so that it will be taking all the values till end. So L, C, O, M, E also will be printed. Because we have not provided ending index, it will consider all the values from the 2. So when I execute this, this will print L, C, O, M, E. Okay, so this is how we need to work with the slicing operator. Now we can also pass negative values. Suppose I'll pass like this. Print str. Here I say 1 starting index colon -1 is the ending index. So 1 colon -1. 1 is the starting index, -1 is the ending index. Then what will happen? So here do we have -1 index in the string? Do we have a -1 index? We don't have. Index will start from 0 only, right? We don't have a -1. So what this will do is, this will remove the last character from the string. Only the last character from the string. So 1 is a starting index. So 1 means what? E. So it will start from E. And -1 means what? Which will return all the values except the last character. -1 means which will remove the last character. What are the rest of the characters we have? L, C, O, M. So these are the only characters we have. So -1 means what? Which will remove the last character, one character. When I say -2, it remove the last 2 characters. Let me just do this. I say -2. Then we'll see what is an output. So the first one is returning this one, and the second one is returning this one. E, L, C, O. That means M, E, both are removed. from the first position. So this is also we can use with the negative values. This is called as a slicing operator. So this one, last one character is got removed, and this one, the last two characters are removed. So this is called as a slicing operator. Slicing operator. Next one, let me just comment. Example 5. So example 5. So here we have two more functions we can use along with the strings. ORD and CHR. ORD and CHR. So very simple. Suppose we have something called ASCII character. So for every character from your keyboard, there will be some number. So computer will identify your keys based on those ASCII characters actually. So if you want to get ASCII number of A, for example, I have alphabet A. I want to get the ASCII number for this A. So how we will get? We can use our ORD method or ORD function, ORD of A. So this will return the ASCII character number. So we can just print it, ORD of A. So this will print equivalent ASCII character. Because it's a string, we have to keep in a single quotation or double quotation. So this will return ASCII number of this character. So execute 65 is a ASCII character, ASCII number of this variable. And suppose I want to pass this number and I will get the character reverse. When I pass a character, I'll get the ASCII number, but I will pass the number corresponding character I want to get. For that, we can use char function. Print char of CHR. Char of, give some random number. Let me just give 65 only. So 65 means what is your expecting? A should be returned. Execute. So now you can see 65 is written, the first one. And when I pass 65, A is returned. So like this, you can pass any characters from your keyboard here. Similarly, you can pass any number. So this will basically return the ASCII number and ASCII character. So the first one returns the ASCII code of the character. And the second one will return the character represented by ASCII number. Okay, these are the two functions we have. Now, example 6. So many functions are there, guys. I'm just filter few important functions. So example 6. So for when you're working with the numbers, we have seen few methods, right? Minimum and maximum functions. Similarly, minimum and maximum functions also we can use with the strings. Now, how we can use? I'll tell you. Max function, minimum function, and a length function. There are three functions we can use for the strings. So what maximum function will do is, which will return the maximum character in a string, and minimum function will return minimum character in a string. Length function will return the length of a string. That means how many characters are there in the string. Let me just give you a simple example. Print max of, here I'm passing one string. Let's say ABC I passed. So what is the maximum character here? C is a maximum. Because after A and B, C comes. So C is a maximum. So this will print C is a output. Perfectly fine. Similarly, if I use the same function with the minimum, I say minimum. So this will give you A, which is a starting one, minimum. Similarly, if I use the length function, so what length function will do? Length function will find out how many characters are there in the string. So totally how many characters we have here? A, B, C. 3 characters we have. So it is returning 3 here. Okay, so length of a string. If you pass something else, let's say welcome. So this will give you 7 characters. Totally 7 characters we have. So these are the 3 functions also we can use with the strings: minimum, maximum, and the length functions. Okay. And now let me discuss a few more functions. I will finish another 10 minutes. So next we also have few more functions, in and not in operators also we can use. Okay, I will provide you notes also, guys. You don't need to remember all these things. I will provide the complete presentation along with the notes, and if you refer that presentation, you will be able to remember this. Okay, so here Another example. Example 7. So in, not in operators. You can also use in, not in operators along with the strings. So what in and not in operators. So let me show you one example. I say yes equal to welcome. This is my string. When I say print, what is the string here? Yes is a string. So I'm providing one more string called come in yes. See this statement. So what is this come? Come is another string. So what in operator will do is this in operator will always returns as a true or false. So these operators returns a condition, a Boolean value, either true or false. True or false. What does that mean? If this particular string is a part of the main string, then it is returns true. It will basically checks this particular string is present in the main string or not. That is the meaning of this statement. So if the come is available in this somewhere, so which will returns true. Suppose when you say something else, let's say LOME. LOME is not a part of the welcome. So this will returns false. This will returns false. Because this is not part of yes. Is there? It is there in yes? No. That's the reason it is giving false. Now execute. Yes, the first one returns true, second one returns false. So that is a usage of in operator. And not in is exactly opposite. So for example, we'll say instead of in, I can say not in. You have to give one space, not in. So this time it will return false and this will return true, opposite. So come is there in yes, it is there, but what I'm expecting not in, but it is there. So it is returning false. And the second statement, LOME, it is not there in yes, but I am expecting not in. So it is returning true. So when I execute this, which will return false and true. So this is exactly opposite of in operator. So in, not in operators also we can use. Then the next example. Example 8. So like in and not in operators, we can also use something called comparison. So we can also compare the strings, string comparison. So to compare the strings, we also have a few methods. Like all relational operators, we can simply use. All the relational operators we can use to compare the strings. For example, let me just put something here. So I'll just remove these comments. Now observe this. The first statement, print Tim equal to Tim. So what is this Tim? This is one string. This is another string. What I'm doing here, equal to is a relational operator. So finally, if both are equal, then it returns true. If both are not equal, then returns false. If I just look at here, both are not equal. So this should return false. Now not equal to operator. So here you can say free. This is one string and this is another string. Both are not equal. Both are not equal. So it is returning true. Now we can just look at this arrow, Aaron. So arrow is greater than Aaron. How we will know that arrow is greater than Aaron? So first it will check the alphabetical order. So first A is equal. Then R is also equal. Next R and O. So now this will consider the third character. So which one is larger, A, R or 0? Which one is greater? Which one is greater? R is a greater, right? That's the reason this is giving true. So it will compare the alphabets basically. If both alphabets are same in each and every thing, and it will go to the next alphabet and it will compare. And if it is greater than this one, then returns true. Similarly, you can just say greater than or equal to. Right, left. So right is greater than or equal to left. So which is greater actually. So that's the reason it is written true. Similarly, teeth and T. You can just look at here. Teeth is less than T. No, false, right? Because the teeth is having more characters. T is having only 3 characters. So obviously, teeth is a less than T is a false. Actually, teeth is a greater than T. but it is returning false because we use a less than operator. Yellow less than or equal to fellow. Now we can just look at this. Yellow is less than or equal to fellow. If I just look at the first character, which one is greater? So which one is greater? Y is a greater. The first character itself is mismatched. So Y is a greater. So what we are saying here, yellow is less than fellow, less than or equal to fellow. So the condition is false. And finally, ABC greater than empty string. ABC is greater than empty string. Obviously, there is no string at all, but AB is larger than empty string. So it is returning true. So we can also use relational operators to compare the strings. Okay, so let us execute. So this will give you the same values which we are expected. So these are all about comparison operators. Right. So now let me show you a few more functions quickly. Example 9. So we have something called a testing methods. Okay, we can also test the strings, like testing strings, and these functions always again returns true or false, true or false. Now let me show you what are the functions. So let me just copy the functions. I'll explain one by one and you guys can practice later. I'll comment this and enable this. So observe this carefully. So here I have a string called welcome to Python. So what is this function will do? S dot is all num. So these functions we can access through this variable. So all num, as soon as you say dot here, it will automatically suggest you all the string functions. These are all string functions. So here say is all num. So what this function will do, this function will check this is a number or not. This string contains a number or not. So now this string contains any number? No. That's the reason it is returning false. If the string contains some number, then returns a true. If the string, not only one part, the whole thing should contain, suppose I have 1, 2, 3. Now the string contains a number. So this function will return a true. But if it don't have a number in the string, then returns a false. There's a function. It's a conditional function. Simply we can say conditional functions. Conditional functions means what? Which will always returns either true or false. And the next function is alpha. Is alpha means what? The string contains alphabets or not? Only alphabets. Yes. This contains only alphabets. So is alpha method returning true. Now if I just look at these two examples, here I have used a string variable, but here I have directly pasted the string. So what is the difference? No difference. You can also directly specify the string variable also. Instead of specifying the variable, if you want to directly specify the string, then you can also specify the string like this. Okay, so no difference. You can specify yes here, or directly if you want to specify the string, include that in the double quotations. But accessing the function is same. Dot is num, is all num. So this function will check the string contains the numbers. If it contains the numbers, returns true. If it does not contains the numbers, return false. Now this function is alpha function will check this string contains only alphabets or not. If the string contains only alphabets, returns true. If not, it returns false. This is exactly opposite of is all num function. Now look at this one. Is a digit. Now in the string we have some digit, right? So I'm also using is a digit function. So is a digit or not? It will verify this string contains a digit or not. If this string contains a digit, then it returns true. And if the string contains some alphabets, then this function will return false. Is a digit function. And the next function is identifier. Is identifier means what? Is identifier means what? The string contains some keyword or not. So in the Python, there are some reserved keywords are there. If you specify the keyword here, then this function will return true. Other than Python keywords, if you specify something else here, that will return a false. That is identifier. Identifier means a reserved keyword in Python. And the next function is lower. So yes contains some value here. all characters are lower or not? Yes. So is lower function will check that string contains all lowercase characters or not. If the function contains the lowercase characters, it returns true. If the functions not contains the lower characters, then it returns false. Is lower is another function. Similarly, is upper. It is exactly opposite of this. If the string contains only uppercase characters, then this function will return true. If the string doesn't contain the uppercase or if contains the lowercase characters, then it returns false. But again, if you just compare this one and this one, here I provided only string variable and here I directly specify the string. You can also directly specify yes here, no problem at all. Okay, but I want to write uppercase character, so I just say welcome. Now the last one is space. So the string contains a space or not. If the string contains a space, then it returns true. If the string not contains a space, then this will return false. So these are all different testing functions. We can call them as a testing string functions. Is all num, is alpha, is digit, is identifier, is lower, is upper, is space. All these functions we can access through string variable. Now execute. So this will give you the same output. Okay, so these are all string functions. And we also have a few more functions that quickly I'll show you and finish. So far, are you guys clear? Please confirm in the chat window. Okay, so then we have something called, just a second, searching for substring. Okay, let me comment these statements. Example 10. Example 10, searching for substrings. Again, there are multiple functions are there. So searching for substrings. So what are those functions? So again, I'm taking the same variable s is equal to welcome to Python. Right. So let me just keep some functions here and then I'll go through them. So these are the functions. I'll go through each and every function, try to understand this. So there is a function. Again, these functions also we can directly access using string variable. Okay, so string contains welcome to Python. There's a string variable which contains some value. Yes dot ends with is a function. What this function will do is we have to pass another string as a parameter. So we have to pass another string as a parameter here. So what ends with function will do? Ends with function returns true if the string end with this particular string. So you can just look at here, thon is exactly the thon is there. And the whole string is end with this particular string. So that's the reason it is returning true. That is called ends with function. If this particular string is ends with this particular string, then it will return true. If not ends with this string, it will return false. That's the ends with function. Similarly, start with function is there. S dot starts with. If the string is starting with this keyword or with this string, then returns true. And if the string is not starting with this string, then return false. If I just look at here, I say good here, but this string is not starting with the good, so it is returning false. And then next function, find. So when I say s dot find, s is a string variable which contains welcome to Python. Find, and it will also take one parameter. So what find function will do, which will find this particular string is present in the main string or not. And where exactly it is present, it will return the position. So COME started from which point? 1, 2, 3, and it is started from 1 only. 1, right? 2, 3, and after 3 it is started. From here it is started. So it is giving 3 here. Find function will find where exactly this cum is located inside this particular string, exactly in the third position. Okay, exactly in the third position. 0, 1, 2, 3. If I just look at it, 0, 1, 2, 3. Exactly in the third position, cum is started. That is find. Now, if I just say find become, it is giving 3. And find become, I say become. Do we have a become this keyword in the main string? Become. It's not there, right? If the string doesn't have this keyword, doesn't have this string, then it will return -1. That means what? It's not found that keyword, or it's not found the string in the main string. It returns -1. So find method will basically return the position where exactly this string is started in the main string. And if find method is returning -1 means what? This string is actually not present in the main string. That is the meaning of find function. And one more function, s.count of 0. So what is this? Not 0 actually, this is a O. So let's say one more character, let's say T, small t. What does that mean? This function will basically count how many number of times this T is occurred in the string. So how many times the T is repeated here? 1 and 2. 2 times it is repeated. So this should return a 2 here. So how many number of times this character is repeated in this particular string? If you want to find, we can use count function. So let's execute. So this will return 2 here, and this will return -1 exactly because it is not there, and it is returning 3. That's the position. So these are all searching of substring functions, searching for substring functions. And apart from that, we also have converting functions. Example 11. Converting strings. How to convert the strings in like lowercase, uppercase to lowercase. There are again multiple functions are there. So let me show you. Comment this. Very easy, guys. Very simple. Not that much complicated. Just you need to see and practice. Now, you can just look at this. These are all conversion of the strings. So we can convert the strings into different formats. Now I have taken one string variable, string in Python. So these are actual string. Now s.capitalize. What this function will do is, this capitalize function convert all the characters into uppercase characters and store that into S1. S1 is another string. And then I'm printing S1 here. Or if you don't want to use another string variable, you can directly put this s.capitalize function directly, you can keep inside the printer. No problem at all. Okay, so whatever string we have in the S, that will be capitalized. Capitalization is nothing but what? Each word is starting with capital letter. It is basically sentence case, you can simply say. If you write a sentence, each word will start with some uppercase character like that. So this will return like this. You can say string in Python, because these are the continuous words, it is not giving uppercase. Only the first character should be capitalized. This is function, capitalize function. And title is another function, s.title. So this will again convert this whole string into title version. Means what? Each word will start with uppercase character. So this is basically called as a title case. And s.lower, again this is stored in S2 and we have printed S2 here. S.lower, so this will convert the whole string into lowercase characters and store that into S3, and we have printed S3. So all the strings in, all the characters in lowercase characters. Now s.upper, this will convert the whole string into uppercase characters and store that into S4 and then printing S4 here. This is the outcome of the statement. And swap case. Swap case means what? Which is also called as a camel case. Means what? Upper to lower, lower to upper. If there are any uppercase characters in your string, will be converted into lower. If you have lowercase characters in the string, which will be converted into uppercase characters. So that's called swapping case. And after swapping case, we store the string again in SY, and SY is printed here. And finally, replace function. Suppose in a string something I want to replace. Suppose in I want to replace with some other thing. Then you can use replace function and specify what is the string you want to replace and which with the new string. This is a new replacer string. This is an old string. This is a new string. So in I want to replace with on. So I can say old string, which is already available in the string, and this is a new string. So this will return the updated string here, and that I'm printing. Instead of in, it will replace with on. So like this, we can just replace any characters from your string. This is called replace function. So these are also most important functions. Most of the times we will use it. Let's execute. Yeah, so these are the exact values we will get. Capitalize means only first character is capitalized. Title means what? Every word in a statement, in every word is capitalized, title. Then lower means all characters in lowercase. Upper, all characters in uppercase characters. Swapping case, lower to upper, upper to lower. And then finally replace. So you can just see this is a replace string. Okay, so these are all a few more methods which we have in strings. Okay, so here in should be replaced with on. So when I execute this, you can just look at here. In is replaced with on. Okay, like this. So these are all converting string. If you want to convert the strings into multiple cases, we use these methods. And finally, most important entry question, we should not miss this. Reverse a string. Entry question. Okay, example. The last one. Okay, so example, how to reverse a string. How to reverse a string. So far we have seen so many functions, but we have not seen how to reverse a string. Right, so let's take, I have one string like this. So we don't have a direct reverse method, guys. Okay, so we have to write a logic. I'll tell you two different approaches we have. So the first method I'll show you, method one. We have to write a looping statement. There is no other way. We have to write a looping statement. For example, I'm taking s equal to welcome. This is my string. And I'll take one more string variable called reverse string. Currently empty. There is no value in the reverse string. Now I'm writing one for loop here. For I in yes. See, I'm not using range function here. I'm not using range function. I in yes. What is yes means? Yes is contains a multiple characters, right? So S contains a multiple characters. Now inside this for loop, I will write one expression which is reverse underscore str equal to I plus reverse underscore str. After coming out of this for loop, I'm just printing reverse string. Reverse string is comma reverse underscore str. Simple program I written. I will explain what exactly I have done. Let me execute first and see. So exactly you got the reverse string here. So this is your reverse string. But how we will get this reverse string? Let us see. So here I in yes. What is S contains? S contains a multiple characters. So when I use this expression like this, in the yes, first it will get the last character. What is the last character? E. So E is assigned to the I. Okay, now current value of I is E. Now this expression will execute. Here, what is the value of I? E, right? So E plus concatenation, reverses str. What is the value of reverse str? Nothing, empty. So this E will be stored in the reverse str again. Now the current value of reverse str is what? E, which contains only one single character. Now again it will go up, and from the yes it will get the another character M. So M will be assigned to the I. Now come to this expression. So what is the current value of I? M. M plus reverse string. So previously in the reverse string what we have? E. So M plus E. M plus E, M E. Sorry, previously E is already there. Now it will add M here. Now it will add M here. So previously the I value is M and reverse string is E. So I plus reverse string. So it will add EM. Like this, it will get each and every character like this one by one. And finally, we will get the reverse string like this. And once this loop is completed, once all characters are completed, finally, this reverse string contains a reverse value. So the reverse string contains a reverse value. So just what we are doing is we are reading each and every character from the string. We are appending or we are concatenating that with the reverse string every iteration. And finally, we will get this string here. So when I execute this, you will get the reverse string. Okay, so this is one logic. And if you feel some difficulty here, we can also do this in another way, which is very shortcut. So we can say method 2. So in this, a simple one single statement, simple s equal to, let's say welcome. And if you want to reverse this, we can use slicing operator. What is that? I can say reverse underscore str equal to s is a string variable and slicing operator we already used earlier. The same slicing operator we have to use. In this, we can simply say colon minus 1. Colon minus 1. So then if I print this reverse string, this will print the reverse string. So this will give you reverse string. But how it is doing? I'll show you. So colon minus 1. So this is actually having 3 sections, right? Actually slicing operator. How we have to use slicing operator? This is a starting point. And the second parameter is the ending point. And what is the third parameter? Starting point, ending point, minus 1. So that will actually remove the value something. So what exactly happening is colon minus 1. So starting point I have not provided. So what is it will consider? 0 it will consider. Ending point also I have not specified. So what this will consider? All the characters will be considered. All the characters means what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So end should be 7. All characters will be considered. 7 is end. So minus 1. Now what is an output of this whole statement? It will print 0 to 7 all the characters, because minus 1 I'm saying means it will decrease. Means what? It will start from the end. So first it will print E, M, O, C, L, E, W. So that's the meaning of minus 1. It will get from the end, so not from the beginning. So if I say just a 0 to 7, it will print all the characters from 0 to 7. But when I say minus 1, this will get all the values from the end. So that will be reversed one, store that into this variable and printed the reverse string. So that's the logic behind this. Okay, let's execute and this will give you reverse string. So this is how we can also reverse a string. We can just write a programming logic or we can use a slicing operator. Okay, so that is all about string function. There are so many functions are there, but I have discussed all of them. But you no need to remember all these things. Just I will provide you one presentation case. I just shared that. So I shared this one. So whatever the topics we have discussed today, so everything is there in the presentation. So range function we discussed, for loop we discussed, and then while loop, jumping statements, break and continue, working with the numbers, and then number type functions and Python strings. So these are all string functions which we have discussed in this example. Almost how many examples are given? Totally 12 examples are given. So all the 12 examples have kept in this presentation. Just go through each and every slide and try to understand them. And it is very simple concept. Okay, so in the tomorrow session, we will discuss a few more topics and I'll stop it here.